Good morning, everyone. As you heard earlier today, I introduced Thomas's bill in the House of Commons. Thomas was a constituent of mine. He was given the diagnosis from his doctors that 4 months to live with stage 4 cancer. As we all have loved ones or friends that have heard that diagnosis, we know how hard it is on one's individuals to hear the words that you will be dying in 4 months. And Thomas took it very hard. His anxiety was off the charts. And his physician couldn't treat his cancer because his mind was everywhere else. And his physician prescribed psilocybin counseling, which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. And with that counseling, it calmed his anxiety so that his body could fight cancer. He accessed psilocybin through the Special Access Program with Health Canada. Currently, it's legally able for physicians to prescribe it, but the bureaucrats in Health Canada have to approve it. And I'm not a doctor, neither are the bureaucrats that are making decisions that override doctors. But for Thomas, he was lucky. He got access to psilocybin counseling, and it worked. It calmed his anxiety. And for 3 years, as he fought cancer, he felt like himself again. Unfortunately, those same bureaucrats that aren't doctors, at the 3-year mark, cut him off of his legal supply. And he had to travel to the Caribbean 3 times a year for his counseling. And that's when he reached out to me. And I kind of had an understanding of psilocybin when I was young, cursory knowledge of it. Didn't think that much of it as medicine. But what Thomas told me is that it gave his life back, and it allowed him to fight cancer. And his government cut him off. Along the same time period, he could have accessed the MAID, same-day MAID, applied for it in the morning, and got it in the afternoon. So Thomas came and talked to me about his troubles, and I started on this mission. It was roughly 3 years now that I've been meeting with different physicians, patients, researchers that are studying psilocybin. It was a well-known medicine early on in our history, and especially in my province of Saskatchewan. Weyburn Hospital at the time was the largest mental health facility in all of the Commonwealth in the 1950s. Humphrey Osmond, the director of medicine from that facility, actually coined the term psychedelics. And so it is fitting today that the member from Saskatoon is bringing forward Thomas's bill that will streamline the access for physicians. And we will join other G7 partners like Australia, Germany, Switzerland. Other partners such as our neighbors to the south have moved on this. And with this bill, when it passes, it will allow proponents of psilocybin molecules to access the priority review, which means in 180 days, they will render a decision, Health Canada, on psilocybin molecules. So we are at a very exciting time in the science and in the concept that there's got to be a better way to address the mental health and addiction crisis across Canada. We see it in the streets every day. Mental health and addiction is 2 different sides of the same coin. And if we can, from the physicians that I've talked to, with the patients that this has helped, I believe that, or I know that Canadians are asking and demanding natural solutions better than what they're currently getting from their physicians, such as big pharma and once-a-day antidepressants. Psilocybin counseling potentially can replace all that if a physician deems that their patient would benefit from it. And I've met people that have had difficult addictions to substances like fentanyl that believe with counseling with psilocybin has helped them stay clean. I've met with veterans, and we're going to hear from one here shortly, that told me that their PTSD didn't subside, it was gone when having a session with their physician on psilocybin. I've met people that gave up on their hope to live and were suicidal, that are no longer suicidal because of the counseling with psilocybin. And that is a great concern of mine. As we proceed into next year, we know that as much as the Conservatives don't support the expansion of MAID, but it's going to be expanded to people that have mental health issues. And I think it's wrong that we are right now, as a state, helping patients end their life, but they are not granted access to a plant that is non-toxic, non-addictive, and that has the science behind it that shows that is effective treatment for mental health, addiction, and PSD. So with that, this announcement and with this bill, when it passes, we will have the ability for physicians to prescribe psilocybin to their patients if they deem necessary, which we all know we need to look at new and innovative ways of treating the epidemic that is on our streets. And I know Canadians are demanding that we move on this. Now I'm going to introduce you to Ms. Lawrence. She is doing research on psilocybin with TheraPsil, and she'll share some words, and then we'll wrap up with Josh, our Canadian hero, to hear his testimonial.
Thank you. My name is Kamaya Lawrence. I'm a clinical researcher with a Master of Science in Neuroscience and direct experience in designing and executing Health Canada authorized psilocybin clinical trials. I'm honored to appear today in support of TheraPsil and the patients that they advocate for. My work has brought me close to people living with chronic illness, people who are brave, exhausted, and living in the space between what medicine can do and what they still need. That proximity is why I'm here today. The people that this bill is designed to protect are not people waiting for better quality of life. These are often people that are waiting for the end of their lives. And far too often, they're waiting in the grip of depression, anxiety, and an existential dread that our current pharmacological toolkit was not designed to treat. Conventional antidepressants can take 4 to 6 weeks to take effect. For a patient with weeks to live, this does not represent a clinical inconvenience. For many, this is the difference between finding peace and never having the chance. This bill is about giving them that chance. In 2016, 2 landmark randomized double-blind crossover trials studied people with life-threatening cancer diagnoses and significant symptoms of depression and anxiety. At Johns Hopkins University, Dr. Roland Griffiths and his colleagues found that 80% of participants who received a high dose of psilocybin showed significantly clinical reductions in depression and anxiety. This was sustained at a 6-month follow-up. Simultaneously, Dr. Stephen Ross and his colleagues at NYU found that at 7 weeks post-dose, 83% of participants in the psilocybin group met criteria for antidepressant response, compared to 14% in the control group. 2 independent studies, 2 separate institutions, the same population, and the same significant results. The Griffiths data also revealed something that no depression scale can fully capture, which is the quality of the experience itself. At the 14th month follow-up, most participants rated their psilocybin experience as one of the most meaningful experiences of their lives. Nearly 2/3 reported lasting increases in well-being and life satisfaction, which represents a positive reconnection with life and meaning at a time where these themes can draw the most pain. The evidence is replicated, it is peer-reviewed, and is published in the most rigorous clinical academic journals in the world, pointing consistently towards dignity, towards relief, and towards autonomy and choice in palliative care. What remains is legislation that matches the courage and the compassion the science has already demonstrated. Western clinical research did not arrive at this understanding alone. The Mazatec, the Aztec, and Maya have carried knowledge of this compound's healing potential for millennia through oral tradition and ceremonial practice. The science we are discussing today corroborates what those traditions have long understood. The people that this bill protects are not in the room with us today. They're in hospice. They're at home. They're in hospital beds. They are waiting to see if the institutions built to serve them will choose to do so. The question before us today is not whether psilocybin works for this population. The evidence answers that. The question is whether we are willing to offer people in the closing passage of their lives a chance at peace. These people could be your closest colleague, your dearest friend, your cherished partner. We have the evidence to give them that chance. This bill makes it possible. and I would urge this chamber to say yes for them. Thank you.
Really good.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh Veinotte. First, I would like to thank Corey and his fellow MPs for bringing this bill forward. It takes leadership and courage to champion an issue that is still so commonly misunderstood. This bill is founded on research, as we just heard, and current evidence, and through further advocacy and education, we can reach our goal to bring this therapy into mainstream healthcare. I'm here today to speak about my own experiences, but my story is not unique. So I'm also here to represent a much larger community of Canadians who have seen the positive potential of psychedelic-assisted therapy. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in 2006, following my first combat tour to Afghanistan. Like many others, I adhered to the orders I was given. I took the medication, I went to the therapy, but nothing seemed to be effective, and I was actually getting much worse. I continued to push through another decade of military service like that, but eventually in 2016, I unfortunately had to release from the Canadian Armed Forces. That led to almost 5 more years of me trying to manage my post-traumatic stress. After extensive research and conversations with clinicians, I decided to engage in psilocybin-assisted therapy. For the first time in nearly 15 years, I felt peace. I was able to finally integrate and solidify everything I had learned through the years of psychotherapy. It didn't erase my trauma, it changed my relationship with it. But the real value is not in the medicine alone. The preparation therapy beforehand and the support during and after treatment are equally important. Working with trained professionals helps individuals process underlying trauma, negative experiences, beliefs, or emotions, and not simply to feel different for a day, but to make lifelong, lasting changes. There are currently far too many Canadians struggling with their mental health. I've lost many friends to suicide. And about a month ago, I lost my closest childhood friend. He was battling multiple sclerosis and deep depression, and I believe if psychedelic therapy was available to him, he would still be here today. Whether it's trauma responses, end-of-life depression, addiction, neurodegenerative diseases, these challenges touch every family across our country. We are fortunate in Canada to have organizations such as Heroic Hearts Canada, All the Way, Stronghold Wellness, MAPS, PsyCan, TheraPsil, and Bluestem API, working hard and tirelessly to advance research, education, and patient access for psychedelic-assisted therapy. We hope to see support from all MPs of all political parties as this bill moves forward. We currently have an opportunity to vastly improve treatment for mental health in Canada. To those who may be struggling today, please know that you are not alone. Don't give up. Keep moving forward, one step at a time. I promise you, it gets easier. You are loved. Your life matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I'm going to open it up to questions.
Do you see this as the first step to legalization?
It is legal right now for physicians to prescribe psilocybin with counseling. It just needs approval through special access program. This would be a step that would streamline it, so if the physician deems that their patient would benefit from it, then you would be able to prescribe it.
Sorry, I meant in the broader sense of decriminalizing the use of psilocybin writ large.
Yeah.
Do you see it as that first step?
This bill is all about physician-prescribed psilocybin. The broader question is not in the bill. This is just for, as we heard from Josh, for people that are suffering from mental health, addictions, and PSD. This is what physicians are asking to be able to prescribe, and patients, as we just heard, have benefited from it. So that is why this bill needs to pass.
Why limit it to psilocybin and not like ibogaine or MDMA? Why just psilocybin?
If you look at the science that has been published, the strongest case is for psilocybin currently. If the science shows that other medicines are beneficial to different disease states, absolutely I would support it. But for today, we know that the science is settled. Psilocybin is safe, it's effective, and there's no reason why a physician shouldn't be able to prescribe to his or her patients that counseling.
Have you spoken to the health minister on this at all, or have you gauged other parties' feelings toward this?
I just introduced the bill, and there's a whole bunch of activities over the summer, and I look forward to it. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. I've been lucky enough, I traveled to Washington and met with Democrats and Republicans that are working on this issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is about the epidemic of mental health and addiction crisis we have in the streets, and physicians are looking for new tools in their toolbox, and this is what this bill, Thomas's bill, would represent.
Yeah, what did you learn during your trip in Washington? Because we saw Trump recently sign an EO around furthering research around psilocybin. Did you take away anything from that trip, or did you learn anything from lawmakers down there?
I learned from the policymakers and some of the lawmakers that I met with that this is not a partisan issue. This is healthcare. And I learned that similar to the announcement that was roughly a month and a half ago, is that the FDA will have 60 days to render the decision on 3 molecules. In our system, we already have the priority review in Health Canada. We're asking it, a proponent, if this passes, a proponent of a molecule would get a decision within 180 days, still keeping the rigid standards that we expect in Canada.
Can I ask a lawful access question? I don't know if one of you want to take it, or just a general question. Is the Conservative caucus united on their position toward the lawful access bill?
Last question.
This today is about psilocybin, and we do have shadow ministers who will speak to that. Yes.
For those who may be concerned about the yes, actually yes.
What was the question, sir, though? Can you repeat it, or? Yeah.
I'm actually a guest today, and I'm also leadership and recorded, so I just have questions with MP, if that's accepted. You can do it.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming today. I'm available for any one-off interviews here or throughout the day or throughout the week. This is very important. If there's mental health and addiction touches families across Canada, and the testimonials that I've heard from patients that had severe addictions to substances like fentanyl, that is toxic and is addictive, but were able to stay clean with counseling on psilocybin, this bill is for them. For the loved ones that might be suicidal, that are considering MAID, and for end of care life. We know that this, for palliative care options for patients that are struggling, this is effective. For the vast majority of Canadians that are suffering and are looking for non-pharmaceutical, natural, non-toxic, non-addictive medicine, psilocybin could be what your doctor prescribes. And I believe I have to do everything in my power to allow those physicians the ability to help their patients. And that's what Thomas's bill is all about. Thank you, everybody.